The movie Stargate was released in 1994, and several years later, MGM decided that they wanted to do a continuation of the movie as a TV series. So Stargate SG-1 debuted in 1997. The franchise even continued to grow with several spin-off shows. Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, not you, and Stargate Infinity, kind of. However, when reworking the movie concept into a TV series, certain changes had to be made. It's totally normal for there to be changes when something is adapted from film to TV. You have an entirely different format with a different framework and different storytelling needs. So the world and the characters kind of need to change along with it. I just noticed I had like mascara smudged under my eye. I wonder if that's been visible this whole time. For example, in the movie, they say that Ra is an alien inhabiting a human body, and when we see his true form, it looks more like a Roswell Gray with like really pointy teeth. But in the TV show, Ra and the other Goa'uld are more like snakes that wrap around the brainstem of their host. It's a little less cumbersome for storytelling purposes, rather than having to explain how the villains are cramming an entire child-sized alien into a human body. That being said, it is commonly known throughout the world of Stargate that Dr. Daniel Jackson became a laughingstock within the archaeological community for his wild yet correct theory that the Great Pyramids of Giza were built by aliens, or more specifically, built as landing pads for alien spaceships. It's mentioned multiple times in Stargate SG-1.
He staked his entire academic career on this belief that the Great Pyramids of Egypt were made by aliens.
As I recall, the last time I saw you, you were giving a lecture to an empty room.
Yeah, well, it was full when I started.
Well, maybe the world just wasn't ready to hear that the pyramids were built by aliens, or was it men from Atlantis?
Yes, I've been following you since your early career. Pyramids as landing pads for alien ships? Fascinating.
Egyptian pyramids as landing pads for alien spacecraft.
And you, Dr. Jackson, were last seen in Egypt, attempting to find proof that aliens once visited Earth and that the pyramids are landing pads for their spaceships.
And in the original Stargate movie, we see Daniel's big lecture where he presents his crazy theory to his colleagues and they all walk out on him. However, here is what Daniel actually said about the pyramids.
The pharaohs of the 4th dynasty did not build the Great Pyramids. Look. Inside the pyramid, the most incredible structure ever erected, there are no writings whatsoever.
There's no mention of aliens. Well, except this guy.
Well, who do you think built the pyramids? Men from Atlantis? Or Martians, perhaps?
But he's just being a jerk. He's not like spitballing theories. Someone could argue that maybe Daniel just didn't get to the aliens part yet during this presentation, but it's something that he said in an earlier lecture or in a publication. But I doubt it. If aliens building the pyramids was his big controversial theory that he really believed in, then he would have brought it up in this setting. But instead, he very clearly says that he doesn't know who built the pyramids.
I don't have any idea who built them. The point is not who built them, the point is when they were built.
The alien spaceship theory is correct. When they go to Abydos, we do see the pyramids there being used as landing pads for the Goa'uld motherships. Then in the Stargate SG-1 show, in the season 2 episode, Thor's Chariot, we see pyramids actively being built on another planet to eventually serve as landing pads for the motherships. So if Daniel definitely did not present his theory before the events of the Stargate movie, is it possible that maybe he presented it after? Well, that wouldn't make sense either, because in the TV series, Daniel's crazy theory is brought up repeatedly as the thing that made him lose all credibility within the archaeological community, before joining the Stargate program. Like, when he joined, his career was at rock bottom.
I'm gonna go now.
Go where? I mean, you've just been evicted from your apartment. Your grants have run out. Everything you own are in those 2 bags.
He lost his apartment, his research grant. He hasn't published a paper in 2 years. Now where is he?
And that point is almost completely moot because there is no way the Air Force would have let him publish anything related to aliens or pyramids after the events of the movie. They also mention that he did not publish anything during the events of the TV series. It's like he fell off the face of the earth. And yes, they do make that joke in the show, like multiple times.
There's been no papers, no research projects. It's like you fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, it is a little like that, isn't it?
Yeah, what have you been up to since? It's like you just dropped off the map.
I've been around.
So, in the context of the TV show, this theory is definitely set up as something that he said before Catherine Langford approached him. I had mascara on my face earlier, I had lipstick on my tooth. Like, man. Therefore, it only makes sense that the show is retconning the exact scene that we saw in the movie where Daniel gives a presentation and everyone walks out. And we just need to all go along with it. This retcon doesn't really hurt the story, so it's not, like, actually a bad thing. I just think it's funny. The show didn't have to add this concept. Daniel Jackson had a mostly reasonable sounding theory that the lack of writing in the pyramids of Giza could maybe indicate that they weren't built by the pharaohs of the 4th dynasty, since they had a distinct style of adding writing to all of their structures. These guys love writing, but there is no writing, so maybe they did not make the thing. Makes sense. And then the show comes along and is like, no, he said aliens. Him ultimately being right doesn't make this any less weird of a theory either. Like, this is quite a leap for any researcher to make. I mean, built by aliens in general is kind of a jump, but built by aliens as landing pads for their spaceships is just insane in its specificity. Like, how could any researcher possibly come to that conclusion? Even the scientists who appear in Ancient Aliens would have laughed at him.
Marty and I were supposed to finally get access to an actual giant bone.
This guy would have laughed at him.
And then we received notifications that the guy pulled out and he was not going to show us the giant bone.
Maybe the SG-1 showrunners say in an interview somewhere why they made this change, but if I had to guess, I would say that maybe Movie Daniel's theory was too reasonable, and they needed to have him say something that was just completely out there in order to justify him being fully ostracized and losing all of his funding, even though he is clearly a brilliant archaeologist. Anyway, I just loved every time Daniel's theory about aliens came up on Stargate. And they never tried to, like, sweep it under the rug like they did with the third Zap Blast disintegrates thing. Instead, they really doubled down on it by just making it a running gag. Like, they referenced it throughout the entire series, all the way to Stargate Continuum, which was released in 2008 and was the very last bit of Stargate SG-1 content that we ever got. You know, it is a missed opportunity that they never utilized Stargate's alternate timelines in order to establish that in this reality, we live in a world where Daniel correctly theorized that the pyramids were landing pads for alien spaceships, but then we meet a Daniel from another reality, heavily implied to be the movie's reality, probably through use of like a really unflattering wig, and he hears this theory and is like, what? I never said that. I just said the pyramids didn't have writing. What are you talking about? Can't have everything. If they ever fully reboot Stargate SG-1, but like consider the events of the movie canon, they need to do that. Were there any other times that Daniel's theory about aliens came up in Stargate? The clips that I used in this video were the episodes that I could think of just like off the top of my head, and I'm not sure if I missed any. I do know that there were a lot of times that it was just generally alluded to that Daniel had theories that other people thought were crazy, but that turned out to be accurate.
Oh, I've tried. I've suspected as much for years. I've published dozens of papers, written a book. No one listens. My colleagues think I'm a bit of a joke.
Oh, Daniel, you've found a kindred spirit.
But I'm talking about specifically scenes where someone mentions that Daniel had a theory about the pyramids being built by aliens or being built as landing pads for alien spaceships. So if I missed one, let me know in the comments. I should just wear my t-shirt like this. No, come on. There we go. I'm fashionable. This is the new trend. Okay.